So youth program grants. So when I talk about the district block grant, what I'm actually talking about is smaller projects. And there's kind of two dollar amounts for them. There's a $2,000 grant is a significant number, and then $7,500 is a significant number, and I'll get to those a little bit later. But definitely smaller grants, and these are uh, denoted in Canadian dollars, denominated in Canadian dollars. So the first of these is the youth programming grant. So the maximum amount of a grant is $2,000. The club will have to contribute to get the full amount, $1,000. So it's kind of a 2-to-1 match is the way to say it. So if a club contributes 1,000 Canadian dollars, a youth program grant of up to $2,000 can be made available. And these are used to really support certain kinds of youth programming. Don't really see it because these grants are small, but you could actually combine your grant with another club. People don't do this. They typically are used to uh, promote local youth projects. The maximum number of you, oh, I'm having trouble. Here we go. The maximum number that you can apply for is two. And you're going to see this is a significant number going forward as we look at the different kinds of grants. You can apply for two of each kind. So the maximum number of these is two. And as always, you're going to see the trend here. You must prioritize which of your projects is a priority one by calling it P1 or P2. What we want to do is ensure that funds for these are kind of spread around the district as equitably as we can. So we'll try and satisfy all of the P1 applications, and with the leftover funding that we've got after we've satisfied all the P1s, we'll look at the P2s as well. When we're dealing with these kinds of grants, we'll say that the failure to prioritize will result in neither of the grants being accepted. There's a naming convention that we'll see a little bit more for district youth programming, P1. So DYP, let me try this again. You will call your project DYP P1 or DYP P2 when you apply on the system, and give us a name of the grant, and that's how we tell them apart. But what can you actually do with these grants? So the list of things that is eligible for a youth program grant is a little bit limited, I'll say it that way. So you can use district youth grant funding to send youth to either a RYLA or a RIPEN camp. So RYLA is Rotary Youth Leadership. RIPEN is a Rotary Youth Program of Enrichment. These are typically multi-day camps that are held in the summertime somewhere within the district. And these grants are often used to pay the fees associated with sending kids to those. RYLA and RIPEN are larger Rotary programs, but there is another program that's somewhat unique in Southern Alberta called RYAC, which is a Rotary Alberta Youth Entrepreneurship Camp. So the youth programming funds can be used for those as well. You can cover off some of the fees associated with participating in the International Youth Exchange. Got to be very careful about those because there's a very tight list of what will and what will not be considered as appropriate for youth exchange. You can help start a Rotaract or an Interact club. You can use some of these funds to allow interactors and rotaractors to participate in certain kinds of activities. And as I said, there are some certain third-party expenses associated with the Rotary International Youth Exchange. There are a bunch of things that you cannot use these funds for. So staging, state, oh, sorry, that's the eligible. Let me try this again. Uh, some of the basic setup fees associated with Rotaract and Interact, expenses associated with sending youth to district conferences and such. Any entertainment or hosting expenses are not eligible. So you have to look very, very closely at the list of things that you would like uh, to support youth with these kinds of grants. Given the small size of them, there's actually these almost, if you will, attract kind of the most paperwork. Um, because they are in the block grant, these are often the things that hold up the approval of the block grant. And one of the reasons for that is that because you're dealing with youth, there's a whole array of youth protection questions that have to be answered in the course of these grants. So we spend a lot of time working on completing these applications for grants that are relatively small in nature, but still they're worth doing. And if you're going to apply for one of these, you really need to consider, how many youth are participating under the grant, where will they be going? Will it be going out of the district, out of the country? Those all raise questions that need to be answered. How are youth being accommodated if they're away from home? Are they camping? Are they in dormitories? Are they with host families? We need to consider all of those things. Uh, who are the camp counselors and chaperones? Have they been screened appropriately for their vulnerable sector protection? So in asking these questions, RI is trying to determine whether the youth program involves sort of any billeting with host families and whether there are any unscreened adults in the area with them. So just kind of some general comments around what you can do with a youth programming grant. They're by and large, and what we see in the district is these programs being used to fund sending students to either RILA, RIPEN, or RIAC. This is going to be a bit of a recurring theme here, and Kurt will certainly touch on them in greater detail as we get a little further into this. But reporting is important. And because this is kind of my first sort of opportunity to say something about reporting against a grant, I'm going to make a comment here that really applies very generally, which is that it's far, far easier to plan for, the reporting that you're going to need to do up front. Think about the kinds of expense receipts and associated documentation that you're going to need to provide to us at the conclusion of your grant, and start planning for and collecting that information up front. Way easier to do it up front than it is to go scrambling after the fact to find stuff. So just recognize that receipts must be attached for all expenditures. Receipts will be provided for reference with final reports, and Matt and Kurt will have one or two comments to say about that as we go forward. So that's kind of the youth program. The key thing to remember here is it's really sort of a $2 matched against $1 for the club. Maximum contribution of $1,000 from the club will net a maximum 2,000 youth programming grant that are really best used for sending kids to RILA, RIPEN, and RIAC. Another kind of district project grant, in addition to the youth program grant, is the district undergraduate scholarship grant. And these support post-secondary undergraduate study, which could include universities, trade schools, and such. The clubs really work together, work amongst themselves to select award winners, candidates. I've seen a number of things. Sometimes clubs will frame this, if you will, as a bit of an essay competition. That's certainly fine. Some rely on teachers and principals of the local high schools with whom they are partnered to recommend students for receiving these grants. So that's fine, and sometimes it's sort of an open competition. So the clubs themselves will determine the eligibility and selection criteria for awarding these scholarships. If they're paid to a post-secondary institution, we strongly prefer that the payment is made directly to that institution on behalf of the student. Not impossible to pay the student directly, but it is far, far more difficult and requires a lot more diligence in terms of reporting. So just a couple of comments here. There are no minimum amounts that we're imposing. So in effect, the Rotary clubs can decide how far to spread the grant that we award, whether it's a single award to one student or whether the grant funds are used to create a number of scholarships that are equally distributed. It's really up to the individual clubs to decide how they want to handle their scholarships. Pooling is allowed, but really not commonly seen in these applications because it's really small-ish scholarships that are really directed at students locally in their communities in partnership with the local schools. So you don't really see any real pooling in any significant sense on these. But similarly to the youth program, the scholarship grant is about the same size. The maximum grant is up to $2,000, and we'll remind people that it is a Canadian dollar. Clubs will contribute 1,000 Canadian dollars to achieve that maximum grant, so the combined total would be a grant of about $3,000. Just like the youth programming grant, the maximum number you can apply for is two. As always, clubs have to prioritize if they're sending us two between a P1 priority and their second priority. And as always, we look at satisfying the priority one grants first, and then we can look after the second tier of P2 priority grants once we've satisfied all of the demand for the P1s. Uh, as always, if you fail to prioritize which of the grants that you're interested in, that could result in both of them being disallowed. We have a naming convention. You'll see that a little bit more as we actually go through the walkthrough of the district grants website towards the end of the presentation. But we ask you to name your projects according to a convention that we've defined, where you start by referencing your DUS, the District Undergraduate Scholarship, Priority P1 or Priority P2. So that's kind of it for the two types of grants that we match on a sort of 2-to-1 basis, where a $1,000 maximum grant from the club can net a $2,000 district project grant. We'll now turn it over to Ola to talk a little bit more about the community development grants and how they get matched. So I think we're ready for Ola, if you want
All right,
to chat for a bit on the district community development grants.
thank you, Greg. So this is the community development grant, and the total grant award is 7,500, and it can be as low as 750. It's a 3-to-1 ratio basis. So if you contribute the maximum that the club can contribute is 2,500, and you get a maximum of 7,500, making a total of about 10,000. So that means, to put it in context, if the club contributes 2,000, you get 6,000 from the district, making a total of 8,000. And it can be used for both local or international projects. So as like you all know, all grants they require a cooperating organization letter. It needs a budget. We've seen in my review of so many of the grants, some of them actually, we see that they don't include budget, and we have to go back to the people who apply for those grants. So the budget is very important, as well as the club approval form as part of the initial application. Next slide.
There we go.
Okay. So grant pooling is also applicable, or rather allowed, in terms of clubs coming together and doing the projects with two, or three district grants. So each club can apply for the district grant, and that's project that grant can go towards one project. So one lead club and any number of collaborating clubs. So each club, again, as usual, we need to complete their own club approval form and add it to the lead club application. So, but the lead club will be the one that's going to be responsible for writing the final report. And the collaborating clubs do not have to submit any report. So the responsibility lies on the lead club. And the priority for this grant also is also set by the lead club. Like the previous grant that Greg just talked about, the maximum also that a club can apply for, either leading or collaborating, is two district grant per club each fiscal year. And each application must be for different projects. So you can't have one project and two different grants to combine them together. So, and again, we have to prioritize this as P1 or P2. This is very, very important. So when we're reviewing, depending on how much funds that's available, we review the P1 first. Then if the funds we have funds left, we go to the P2 and the P2. If there are not much funds available for that, we will also do that by ranking the projects. This is done by the district grant committee. Priority two applications will be considered only if monies are available after funding all eligible P1 application. So that's why the prioritization of this of the project is very, very important. So, and we have a naming convention for this for your project. So if you're doing a district community project, so you name it as DCD P1 or DCD P2. Now, if, like I mentioned earlier, if the applications are oversubscribed, the awarding of the grants will be decided by the district grant subcommittee team. So if the total P1 project applications are oversubscribed also, we have to reduce that based on the percent over subscribed. So if enough money is available to consider the P2, then we also, like I mentioned earlier, we will use the ranking system that's done by the district grant subcommittee. So this ranking system can also be found on the grants website on rotary5360.ca. So once awards have been determined, they are final and they are not subject to any change or review. Reporting requirements, so for final report, which it's allowed you, and this is due 60 days following the completion, or 2 years from the date of approval, but we have to understand that when these are late, it affects the club's ability or eligibility to apply for any other district grant. So all report has to be in before the next fiscal years to enable that club apply for district grant. So receipts are required for all expenditures. They have to be uploaded. And I think this goes into the individual project portion of the district grant application platform. Then you have to create a folder to add your different documents. So you had your receipts in one folder. I've seen people hide everything in one folder, but if you want, you can separate the folders and had the receipts in one folder, had the different documents that you have, and then the pictures also in different folders. So you must also ensure that your expenditures are 133% or greater of your grant award, because we know that the 7,500 is from district, but we have to make a report for the total amount, which also includes the club's contribution. Slide. So this is the one we call for short VTT. So this is for training teams that want to travel to another country to learn more about their profession or to teach professionals about a particular field. So, and the travel can be either or in both directions, so that you travel there or they travel here. So grants can support the travel of more than one team. The team can consist of Rotarians and non-Rotarians, and they must have a travel insurance as well as the trip while the trip is being organized. Yeah. So medical personnel that's practicing medicine also have additional insurance requirements. Next slide. So we have two types of VTT grants. Okay, we have the district VTT grant that's applied to the district directly, while the type 2 is the global grant embedded in VTT. So that is done through the RI, just like our global grant. So a global grant with an embedded VTT qualifies for $5,000 in additional DDF, provided there's sufficient funds available. So this table just shows the difference between the two types of VTT. That's the district VTT grant and the global grant embedded VTT. So you can see the scope in terms of the district VTT, you see this is very more flexible than embedded, while the global grant embedded VTT must satisfy all global grant requirements. In terms of teams, must have relevant experience and preferably be led by a Rotarian, while for the global VTT, it must include 2+ members plus a Rotarian leader with relevant experience. For the district, cooperating organizations can participate. It doesn't say that for the global grant. For Rotary Club, does not have to involve another Rotary Club. All right, but for the global VTT, it has a host Rotary Club as well as our district. Okay. Countries. Okay, can you go back?
Yeah, I can go back. There you go.
So any country except those barred by TRF, and the training may also take place in Canada. So for the district, it can also be used in Canada, and the focus must support RI mission of health, education, poverty, and environment, while the global VTT support at least one area of focus. Next slide. Okay, so here are some specifics about the rules and dates. So for the district VTT, we have a maximum award of 7,500. Club contribution must be, just like the community development grant, 2,500 to get a maximum. Club limits one grant application per club. Then you can also pull application per club also. Multiple clubs may apply for the same VTT and pull funds together, just like the community development grant that we have. So the dates are March 15, 2026, like we have the deadline for the community development grant, and the awards will be announced in the fall of 2026. And all applications, this can also be found on our website. Right. I think that's next slide. I think that's it.
I think you got it all, Olaf. So
okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well done. So yeah, there's one more type of grant to chat about here, and that's the district travel grants. Our team lead, Andrew Bronson, take it away.
Good morning, everyone. District travel grants are a small yet interesting part of the district grant programs. So the purpose of the district travel grants are to subsidize travel by District 5360 Rotarians to meet with a host Rotary Club partner to develop a humanitarian project and or do a community assessment. Next, please. So eligibility, Rotarians from District 5360 who are traveling to support project initiatives endorsed by their clubs. So you also need a letter of invitation provided by the host Rotary Club. So that's the club you're going to visit in the far off lands. And the applicant, must be on site a minimum of 5 days and a maximum of 30 days. Next slide, please. How many travel grants are there? There are usually 4 travel grants at $25 each available in each Rotary year. So always check to see if Rotary travel grant funds are available. The March 15th application deadline or date does not apply to travel grants. You may apply for a travel grant at any time. And I'll add, there's quite a few quirks to this. There's been times when 3 travelers from 2 different clubs shared 2 grants. So I'll leave it at that. It's interesting, and we often make these work and help people travel, but there's quite a few rules. All the TRF guidelines apply. So by listening today, you've picked up on all those guidelines. I don't need to repeat them, but just give me a call. Next slide's got my email. So send me an email and I'll walk you through it.